Well, let's talk about home buyers, Brian.
Yeah.
The next article from Housing Wire poses the question, will home buyers jump at cheaper mortgage rates? And I don't think that they will right away. They mentioned a lot of really good points in this article that would suggest we should see lots of people coming off the sidelines, but it's not happening. So real quick rundown, and then we'll break it down. So inventory rose as expected. New listings have ticked down, which is going to hold prices. Pending home sales are up, and home prices are down, and price reductions have also started to slow down, happen more frequently. So that begs the question: what is keeping people on the sidelines then?
So that actually kind of, how do I say it? So my thoughts on this is that people are still waiting for the market to drop more. And this is kind of like you said, that first wave. Now, what I do see happening, and I'm curious to see, is that I feel that as rates start dropping, it's only going to eat up the competition or the demand that's out there right now that still needs to be filled. So not until we have a drastic drop in rates or, a good amount of time that rates have been on the downtrend, that I feel more people are actually going to be like, hey, it's time to sell. Not buy, because we know the buy demand is there, but I'm referring to the sell side, where I feel like sellers are like, okay, the rates are right there. Some are already starting to put more houses up in the market, but there's still those people that tank the rate to like two and a quarter, right? That are like, if I don't have to sell, I'm not going to sell. Why would I? So I feel until there's a significant drop in the rates that really gives sellers the appetite to want to sell, then we're going to start seeing a lot more inventory, and that's when I feel prices are going to start coming down. I don't think that they're going to happen in the next 6 months, maybe gradually and small, but not at the pace that we would like to see them. At least that's what I think.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of meet you there. And one of the things that they had said, someone was quoted in this article saying that the fear I have is that it took so long to get here that maybe home buyers have given up for the year and will wait to see what next spring looks like before entering the market again. There's a couple reasons for this.
That's fair.
The first thing is typically inventory plateaus in August and then starts to decline in September.
Yes.
So that's kind of a seasonal trend. A lot of parts of the country start turning the corner where summer is coming to an end, school goes back in session, and if you haven't moved by now, you're very unlikely to be moving in the middle of winter when it's snowing and you're dealing with weather. That's part of it in parts of the country. Last week, and this is why I brought my news from last week, is remember we had an article last week that we talked about, also from Housing Wire. Almost 40% of home shoppers are hitting the pause button until after the election. Yeah. Which means that puts us all the way until November of this year. So I think you have part of what you're talking about, and you also have that there's 40% of at least the people surveyed on this other article from last week talking about, hey, I'm not going to do anything anyways until I know who the heck is the president.
And to that point, I really feel that and September, October, November are going to be very, like, how do I say it? I think strange times, because we don't know what's going to happen. If we see the rates come down in September, that's going to put a little bit more pressure on the real estate market and the rates. But up until I think we know exactly what's happening in November, that I feel things are going to spill over.
So it's all but baked in that the Fed's going to do a rate reduction in September.
Exactly,
I mean, I did not bring it for today to talk about because I think it's too speculative still. There was a couple conversations. Should they do a rate cut like right away because of the market mini contagion? And they did not. And then now the conversation turned, well, if they're not going to do it right away, should they still only do a 25 basis point rate reduction in September, or should they make it 50? So now that conversation's on the table.
Right.
And I don't want to get lost in the weeds on that, because I don't want the broader idea here is what's going to bring buyers back. So I think September, seeing the Fed make that move will, I'll say psychologically or behaviorally get people to reconsider.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'm going to say specific to San Diego, and this happens year after year after year to us here, and it's probably true at other offices as well, December goes off for us here in San Diego. I don't know what happens, but for some reason, December goes bonkers for us here at Mortgage Heroes. And then there's like a lull in January and like February a little bit. And then March. But it's like everything's calm in October, kind of slow in November. And then December hits, bro, and people are just like showing up all over.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. We've seen it these last couple of years. One of the things that I've also noticed, and they speak about it in the article, is that these last 2 years since 2022, October, maybe a little bit before October, rates start to go up. And last year we touched around 8%. In 2022 we hit the 7% range, which was the high for that year. And those years we were on the uptick of rates. Now what the difference is from this year is that the climate's a lot more like, hey, everybody kind of knows that we're leading towards a rate cut. So I speculate that based on that sentiment, October is going to be very different this year around.
I think it is because and I mentioned this in like many episodes prior and a couple of times. Like October of 2023 was the hot stove moment.
Oh, horrible!
Like, we hit the stove 8%.
Horrible!
Woo, hey, everyone pulled back. Like, whoa, no way, we're not doing this, or just mathematically can't do it. So I don't think we're gonna have that again. I think we're actually kind of at the kind of looking over the edge of the cliff. Not the cliff. I'll say the mountaintop a little bit, where we've come off of those 8s, hanging around 6s and 7s or so. Some of the VA deals I know we're locking are in the high 5s even now. On the VA Earl specifically. So just good disclaimer: the VA Earl, not the VA purchase right now, unless you have one. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I agree. You're going to see a different October this year. I think you're going to see a different November for sure because
of course,
if people are on the sidelines in between now and the election, and their person gets in, then I think November, December is going to go off.
Well, think about it. Somebody's person is going to get in November. So
that's my point. Whether you're for one side or the other, the point is if some people are sitting on the sidelines because they want to see if their candidate wins or not, and then they're like, oh well, when that happens, I will do. Well, that's the candidate winning is the first domino, and then the second thing is boom, I'm ready to buy. Let's go. That could cause a December for us that's just as wild as the ones in the past. I don't know. That might be too predictive at this point. But what we're seeing still is, despite these other headlines or these main topics of pending home sales going up, prices kind of going down, price reductions going up a little bit, and the median price is still about the same. And I think that the price reductions ticking up a little bit is a sign of people willing to make deals happen, number one. And I think the plateauing is happening. I think that the median home price is going to take a breather from now until maybe 3 to 6 months from now. I do not estimate it to continue climbing the way it has.
I'm with you on that. And one of the things I've noticed opposed to other years is that right now, since it's all about the affordability crisis, the offers that are going out aren't being like, how do I say, over the top, asking price. They're being offered a little bit above asking price to be able to get credits back. So I still see houses being sold a little bit above asking price to be able to get credits back. But I think that might just be, for the local real estate market. But
and the land attached to it. Remember, we talked about that a lot too. It's like it might be an older house, but it's on an acre. I could build other things there that create cash flow. So I will I'll overpay for what's there now in order to build what I know could be there later and increases that value. So make sure I make that note too. But sorry, I know I interrupted you.
No.
But something else about price reductions?
Yeah, that was it.
No, that was it. Okay, so people are still, I'll say overbidding on the value in order to get credits back, and that's about to start another round, or another reason is about to kick that off, which is the whole NAR lawsuit thing. So we learned from last week's show in Friends of Mortgage Heroes with Stephanie and Russell talking about the new forms. One of the things that could happen is that they're going to bake into your offer as a buyer that the price get increased in order to pay the buyer's commission if it already isn't priced that way. So that's something I think we got to look out for and kind of see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like, hey, well, we can't offer that much. We can offer this much. Like, what are you going to go tell your realtor, or what's your realtor going to tell the buyer?
Right.
So interesting times. We'll see.